Well, President Trump is not under investigation. That's according to one of his attorneys. That denial coming just days after a tweet from the president, which appeared to confirm the opposite. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Meghan McCain. She's back! The host of Kennedy on Fox Business, Kennedy herself. Beautiful print. Also from FBN, the anchor of the intelligence report, Trish Regan. It never gets old. She's bringing intelligence. Say it.
Never gets
Today's
old.
hashtag one lucky guy. Fox News politics editor Chris Steyerwalt. He's outnumbered, and this diet is on fire.
Right here.
Yeah, this is where you live.
This diet is on fire.
I was so excited that I was going to get to be here today because there's so much to talk about, and that I was with human beings who could have a smart conversation about it and put it in the right context. So this is the place to be.
You are welcome.
Yay.
Yay. All right, let's get started. A member of President Trump's legal team says several times over the past weekend and again this morning that the president is not under federal investigation. This after a Washington Post report cited unnamed sources claiming the president is being investigated for obstruction of justice. President Trump then tweeted what his attorney says was just a response to that report. Here's attorney Jay Sekulow.
What the president has been accused in the media of doing, or through the leaks in the Washington Post, it doesn't constitute obstruction of justice, so there would be no need to engage in an investigation of something that, if the fact were to be proven, it would not violate the law. According to the Washington Post theory, he's under investigation for taking the action that the Department of Justice told him to take. And so this whole thing, if you look at it in that way and you just lay the case out like that, there's nothing to investigate. None of us have been notified of an investigation.
Congressman Adam Schiff, though, the ranking Democrat on the House Intel Committee, suggested, well, otherwise.
I think there is evidence. I can't go into the particulars of our closed investigation, but I also think there's evidence of obstruction. And the fact that the president can fire someone for good cause or can fire someone with no cause doesn't mean that he can fire someone for malicious cause. But I'm not prepared to say that there's proof you could take to a jury, but I can say that there is enough that we ought to be investigating.
I think there is evidence, although many have said there's none. We'll get into that in a moment. All of this sparked by that tweet from the president on Friday, which said, "I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt." Chris, I'm wondering, because some Republicans are now coming to criticize the president over to stop with the tweeting.
Yeah.
You're not helping.
Everybody, not everybody, but an overwhelming majority of Americans in poll after poll say the president's tweeting is not a good thing. This is Democrats and Republicans. And it's funny. People say the president, or the president himself says, the mainstream media doesn't want me to tweet because they don't want me to talk directly to the people. Quite the opposite. The mainstream media, I love that the president tweets because instead of getting the spin from his spin doctors that is carefully managed to keep them on message, I get whatever the president's thinking at 6:45 in the morning and how does he feel, and it's unfiltered and it comes right from him. So as a journalist, my point of view is tweet it up, but I can see why Republicans and especially people who work for him say tone it down.
So Meghan, it might help if the president continuously tweeted there is no evidence.
Yes, I mean, listen, granted, I've been offline for a week
Girl went to Greece.
I was with my boyfriend out of the country. It happens once in a while. But I
recognize this fool in Santorini. She's a big star.
This is what I don't understand about this. And again, you know how everyone knows how I feel about the president's tweeting. So he tweeted that he's under investigation. His lawyer's saying, no, he's not, vociferously. We have Kellyanne Conway going on TV today saying that he tweeted this ironically. I don't know if she understands what the definition of ironic means. That seems weird to me. How I live my life and how I like my politicians, and part of the reason why I do like President Trump's direct approach to politics is that you know where he stands. But when there's too much interpreting, trying to read the tea leaves of exactly what he's saying, not only does it get confusing, but it completely gets us away from the agenda and the legislative goals that many of us have, starting with repeal and replacing of Obamacare. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, these self-inflicted wounds, how at this point have have him and his team not learn these lessons? And is this just what life is going to be like? We're not going to accomplish anything because we're going to continue to obsess over sort of ridiculous tweets for the foreseeable future.
Kennedy?
I actually understand where he's coming from with the tweets, because with the number of leaks that are coming out, the number of sources, whether it's within the White House or the intelligence community or the special counsel investigation, if I were being wrongly accused, and that's how the president is framing this, then you would want to respond. Having said that, if that's what he's doing, he has to say, I'm responding to the leaks. He has to say, you know, obviously I'm not under investigation, but if I were, it would be a witch hunt. He has to qualify it somehow. Otherwise, it turns into a big distraction, as though he's admitting he's under investigation, and then his personal lawyer goes out there and gets himself in a pickle with a verbal sparring match with Chris Wallace. And now we have to look at what we're doing right now. What are we talking about? We're not talking about how we're going to keep the country safe from the kind of attacks we're seeing in Europe, and we're also not talking about tax reform and health care. Those are, I think, much more critically important to Americans right now.
Eat your Wheaties before you go on Fox News Sunday. That's all I can say. Jay Sekulow, that was tough.
With 2% milk, no skim.
well, Donald Trump seemed to be believing what the Washington Post had written. I mean, and this creates a big problem for his lawyers, because if he's not under investigation, why is he moving forward in a tweet and saying, look, you know, why is he taking this on? He's digging his own grave to a certain extent. Don't even go near it. Just say, look, there's no evidence. Or to Kennedy's point, make sure you reference what you're talking about. The problem is you only got, 27 characters? It's hard in Twitter, which is why this is a vehicle that, while, yes, it enables you to talk to the public, maybe you need to send a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
which
tweets,
he has in the past.
And just clarify yourself as much as possible.
I have two questions then, piggybacking off what you're saying, because I don't know that sarcasm always translates in 140 characters, especially when you're also trying to talk about the FBI director. So if he extrapolates out with message and takes away the personal attack, he might have enough room to say what he's talking about. But my question is, where are all the people he's hired that are supposed to be watching his tweets? And
where's the war room?
And where's the war room? And I thought, you know, we saw Kasowitz, now we have Sekulow. I mean, we got a bunch of people here.
And high-powered.
Why is he still able to hijack the message, even when it's on tap to help him, and get off course?
So you try to explain to your client, you're an attorney, it doesn't matter how good of an attorney you are, you try to explain to your client, look, you're not under investigation for obstruction of justice yet, but you could be. It could end there. Of course it could end there. If they found criminal wrongdoing that the president knew about and he worked to block the investigation, of course it would be. And he'd get impeached, and then he could be charged criminally. Don't get in that space, your lawyer would tell you. Don't put yourself in that position of enormous peril by talking about it, by gassing on about it. But Trump can't resist. The whole story for this presidency so far is that, given the massive headwinds it faces in resistance from Democrats, obstructionism even from some Republicans, and a press corps that is absolutely devoted to seeing this be a total blow up, the president just gives them wood to put on this pyre every day.
Add to that the judiciary. Add to that federal judges who have used some of his statements on the campaign trail and from social media against him in their ruling. But, you know, and that is all now legally within the threshold, and we'll see what happens when it finally makes it to the Supreme Court. But I don't think it's going to neutralize what these federal judges have said in the foundation they have laid for future presidents, which is a very dangerous precedent.
It's super simple. If I were working in the White House, I'd make a giant poster, Game of Thrones style. Midterms are coming, and they're coming soon. And if you don't get this together pretty soon, you're going to have hell to pay coming up in a lot of these elections. Ossoff is coming soon, and if you don't pass something that we can go to our constituents and say, look, this is why you elected President Trump. He's making America great again, because right now it's Russia, Russia, Russia.
So I only see the Twitter highlights of Game of Thrones. Woo! I didn't see the poster.
It's not
but I would
kind
say
of
this
show,
on that poster.
Harris.
The president actually had a good week last week, and the week before, in terms of things that were getting done. Right? I mean, if we put aside the tragedy that we saw play out on that baseball field practice, and that's hard to do, Republicans were actually getting some things done. Dodd-Frank, we talked about that, the Choice Act. On that big board, can the president put best days in this week and concentrate on tweeting that out? I don't know. It's just an idea. I mean,
you're right.
I live with grade schoolers. That's how we roll.
You know, and that would come in handy perhaps in the White House. He does not trust his team.
No.
And if you don't trust your team, I don't think he does. I think this is the problem. So he's always intervening, trying to get his point of view across, and it's turning problematic.
Yeah. All right. Of course, we cannot set it aside. We pray about it. Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise continuing his recovery, as are the others in Wednesday's shooting. After last week's horrific shootings played out in Virginia, the House Majority Whip undergoing another surgery. We knew about that. We knew it was coming. What the doctors are saying now. And a showdown is looming over the GOP's health care bill. Senate Democrats are planning a floor protest tonight. Amid reports they may also block routine business in the upper chamber to stop the Obamacare overhaul. Could the move, though, actually help Republicans? We'll talk about it.